Hi there, it's Rachael Evans here from the Workshop Whisperer, where we help you achieve auto repair shop success. Now, today we are here to talk about all things to do with firing someone. Now, that can be a really touchy subject, and it's not something that anyone really enjoys doing, but we're here to help you understand if there's a right time to do it and how you might do it. So if you've ever struggled with firing someone or understanding the structure of how that can be done so that you guys can part ways shaking hands, well, you're in the right place. So if you missed out on your copy of our free A-grade team resource, then make sure you stick around until the end of this video so that you can get yourself a free copy. Make sure you also give me a thumbs up in the comments section so that I know that you found this useful. It really helps us when we're putting together the content for you that is most valuable. So the problem that you may have found is that you've got a position that you now need to make redundant, or you can't afford to pay for anymore, or you may have a toxic team member that you want to move on, or you know somebody needs to be moved on, but you're feeling really uncomfortable about doing it. So your opportunity here is potentially to remove someone who's disrupting your culture or someone who is not performing and it's costing the business money. Okay, so we've got a framework here that we need to use, and it's essentially the hire slow, fire fast. So if you've been following along for a while, hopefully you've been using our resources to help you set up a great recruitment process to make sure that you're hiring correctly. So you're getting the right people out to the workshop floor or the right people to the service desk. But when it comes to removing someone that you know needs to go, you've actually got to do that as quickly as possible so that there is as little harm done to the business as possible. So with the hire slow, fire fast, what we look at doing is making sure that we're hiring for the correct values that you have for your business, the desired behaviors and qualities that you want your new team members to have so they fit into your culture. Now, we want to protect that culture at all costs, which is why it's important that we move someone on quickly when we know that they don't belong inside the business anymore. Why? Because on their way out, they may destroy or attempt to destroy the culture that you've worked so hard to build. So our first actions here, when we know we've got to move someone on, is to first educate yourself with the employment law in your state or country. So the employment law is a little bit different in Australia than it is to New Zealand. So make sure you understand by calling Fair Work Australia or the Department of Employment in New Zealand. So we have to make sure that we're taking lawful steps to dismiss an employee. Otherwise, we can end up in a situation where we're at a tribunal, and by the time it gets to tribunal, often the result is that the employer or former employer is the one paying out the money. So our other thing that we need to do is to structure performance management. So if we've got a performance issue where someone is repeatedly not performing at the level that we expect, then we need to put some steps in place to ensure that they know what the expectations are, that we give them a fair opportunity to achieve those expectations, that they know what the consequences of not achieving those expectations are, and that your final performance management meeting is actually their dismissal, and that's all done lawfully. So we do need to give people the opportunity to be trained and to be managed properly. And it's only once you've satisfied those criteria that you should feel comfortable moving someone on. And this, of course, doesn't include where someone's being dismissed for gross misconduct, okay? That's where it's an instant dismissal situation. Once again, you need to understand the employment law in your country to know when that comes into play. So the results of having a good performance management structure in your business is that the toxic team member or the underperforming team member that you're trying to move on is more likely to actually come to the conclusion themselves that they don't belong in your workplace anymore and leave of their own accord. That's just from the performance management process itself. By removing them, you actually open up the space for the right team member to come along. Now, one thing I see and hear about all the time is that we're holding on to these underperformers or these toxic team members because it's really hard to replace them. Well, you've got to ask yourself, but by them being there, what are they actually costing the business? Are they undermining you as a leader or other leaders in the business? Are they looking to recruit other team members over to their way of thinking? And is that costing the business money? Can you actually afford for them to be there while you're looking for someone else? In a lot of cases, the answer is no. And what we're better off to do is to have a position vacant that the right person and the right energy can come along and step into. So it works because our toxic or underperforming team members are no longer there and they stop disrupting the rest of the team. So if you've got a disruptive and toxic team member and they're not there anymore, you often see that the rest of your team immediately lifts because they're not faced with the heaviness that toxic team member placed on them just by them being there. So when our team is happier, our productivity often increases, and that means that we're making more money and in a lot of cases saving time. So what are the lessons here around having performance management in place, a good solid structure, and following through with the consequences for the team members when they don't meet the criteria that you've set for them? Well, the first lesson is to JFDI. You've got to just do it, okay? You've got to put your big girl or your big boy pants on, and you've got to step into the space where you are the leader that will take on this challenge. You've got to do it. Stop delaying it. You've got to remember that your team is watching what you tolerate rather than actually listening to what you preach. So if they see you continually putting up with this underperformance or toxic behavior, they are going to start eroding their respect for you as the leader. And they'll start to think, well, if that guy can get away with doing what he's doing, why am I even bothering to try? Why am I working my butt off and carrying the load for that person? It's just not fair. And if you continue to let that happen, you'll find that you actually lose good people because they'll become so disillusioned that they will go and find somewhere else to work. And you certainly can't afford that when we've got the skills shortage in the industry that we have. So earlier in the video, I mentioned that we have a free resource for you, the A grade team, where we're talking through all about the hiring and the firing and how to do that in a really effective manner so that you end up with the right people who are going to get on board with your vision inside your team. So if you want to comment the word team in the comments below, we'll make sure we get a copy of the A grade team straight to you. So it will help you reflect on what kind of team member you want in your team when you're undergoing the recruitment process so that you actually reduce the risk of ending up in a situation where you've got to performance manage in the first place. All right, ladies and gents, I trust you found that useful. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up in the comments section if you found value there so that we know to make more videos like this one for you. All right, enjoy your week and make sure you keep those repair orders nice and high.